Did you see Artur Beterbiev?
Yeah.
And he's one of the scariest boxers of all time. The
Hands up with him, he'll still concuss you.
Yeah.
He hits that hard.
smashes guys' arms.
I think
When
the best
guys
boxer-
shell up with him.
Yeah.
You don't want that guy punching your
Oh.
arms. Well,
For a man that came from Chechnya, it's questionable why he did not become a wrestler. But in return, he basically became the Khabib of boxing. Seriously, in a sport full of trash talkers, he speaks only with KOs, with a not long ago finish rate of 100%. It's questionable how he did not become an assassin but a boxer. No one had ever gone the distance with him. Every fight ended in a finish until Bivol broke the streak, but in a rematch. That means that Beterbiev beat him first. That only speaks of what a beast he is. In today's video, you will learn his fight breakdown, methods of how he became one of the best knockout artists, his strength and conditioning, and how to acquire his style. Breakdown of his style. Beterbiev is not just a boxer, he is a specialist for demolishing, a pressure fighter just going forward and the biggest puncher in the sport right now. But what makes him unique, due to all other fighters, is when we are talking about his stance. That's nothing new, traditional orthodox stance. But what made him stand out from the rest is the ability to switch stances mid-combinations. One of the favorite ways for him to cut the distance is by throwing punches with opposite steps. This way, it's very easy to switch stances and cut the distance. It looks like he is sprinting at his opponent. This gives him advantage not only because it gives him variety of strikes while he is in the other stance, but when the opponent tries to angle away from him, he just fights in the opposite stance. I already said he is a pressure fighter, as his favorite part of the ring is the center, making him have to move less, and, of course, putting his opponents in vulnerable positions. But if you ask yourself how does he push them back to the ropes, the most common way is his lunging movements, like lunging jabs or even gazelle hooks, which force them to retreat, making them back to the ropes. You already know that Beterbiev is a power freak, but how does he set up his punches? Simple, feints. Like every good boxer, he knows the importance of feinting. Like when he gets control of the center of the ring and backs them up, he will tactically approach this and set up his strikes. He does them with classic feinting, a jab, and then finds an opening by the opponent overreacting. He loves to level change. Like when he wants to throw a knockout cross, he lowers his body a little bit to the left, making them expect a jab and then crosses up their nose. Or the classic level changing, going low and throwing to the head and vice versa. Clinch fighting is where Beterbiev shows that he is an assassin. When he gets into a clinch, there is nobody stopping him from demolishing the opponent. While opponents get into a clinch to get a rest, he does not let them and never stops with a barrage of punches and even pushes them off before the referee steps in. This also has to do with his power, and most of the boxers cannot compete with that strength. Like I said, he comes from Chechnya, and that means that he has a wrestling background too, making him play with other boxers in the clinch. He is really the Khabib of boxing. He also beats them because he does not need a lot of rotation and swinging to generate power, and his KOs look effortless. But we will touch on that in strength and conditioning. Strength and conditioning. For a guy that is currently 40 years old, and that is pretty crazy due to boxers retiring at 35 years of age, because everything after that is declining, like their fast twitch muscle fibers. But for him, there is no sign of stoppage. The only loss that he had was by Bivol, but he is a story for himself. But besides Bivol, there is nobody that could parry with him in this weight class. He has very interesting strength and conditioning. Let's start with the wrist and hand strengthening. Logically, hands are most important in boxing, so injuring your hands would be detrimental for the career of a boxer, especially a pro. So he does various push-ups on his knuckles, palms, fingers. While Artur is a beast and he can do this type of extreme training, it's better to do standard hand strengthening exercises to not cause injuries by training to prevent injuries. Some of them are hand grippers, wrist curls, and standard push-ups on knuckles. Next are compound lifts. While he is not performing the exercises like standard powerlifters, he does them a little bit different, which is the point. His coach changed the exercises a little bit for functional strength for boxing. Like with the bench press, he does not pause before he lifts the bar. Instead, he uses elastic energy to push it out, which simulates punching. Also, he does trap bar deadlifts, and of course, squats. Next are plyometrics, debatably maybe the most important type of exercise for strikers. This, of course, trains fast twitch muscle fibers, which in return develop power. Some of the exercises mimic punching, which fighters are prioritizing. Exercises like sledgehammer tire slams and medicine ball throws are what Artur does the most, especially hammer slams. He is very hooked on various hammer slams and for a good reason, making it one of the best exercises for rotational power strength development, making your punches feel like you got slammed by a hammer. Next are the Olympic lifts. While these are very hard to learn, as someone who is mostly training martial arts, there is no time for learning the good technique for Olympic lifts. The reason is that lifting heavy fast is making explosive power. But if you do not have good technique, you can injure yourself badly. So the best thing is learning just one Olympic lift and sticking with that. It will benefit massively. He does hang power clean, which is among the best power exercises. Next are core exercises. The core is really important, especially because it's the center of the body and the beginning of everything. Power starts from there because it lets you connect force from the lower body to the upper body. Of course, rotational force from the ground up, the stability, and many more. He does many core exercises, the dynamic ones, all kinds. You can start with Russian twists with weights, sit ups, and planks. Next is conditioning. By having razor hands, we rarely saw the test of his cardio, but nonetheless, we never saw him get exhausted either. Maybe because he comes from Chechnya and has trained wrestling in the mountains, or maybe he just has impeccable cardio. He does standard road work and jumps rope. Something that he does a little bit different is sprints, uphill and upstairs, making it high intensity interval training specifically for combat situations. Also, the sledgehammer tire slams provide fight tempo, making it not only power development but also cardio training. How to train like Beterbiev. Like I said earlier, Artur is a calculated pressure fighter and a big puncher. The fighter who is the example of what every single trainer is talking about. Hands up, jab available, right hand protecting chin, well balanced between front and back leg, always ready to transition weight from back to the front foot if needed. And with that stance, his footwork is based on small steps forward, which pushes opponents back. To break down his fighting style, he has a simple yet very powerful jab, which he creates his whole game plan on. But he uses it not only to set up other punches, but as a power shot itself, or used as a lunging jab. As I said earlier, that is his version of a gazelle hook. To get this type of jab, this is not just about power, this is mostly precision. This guy uses his jab as everything: distance control, as a reaction to the opponent, and even as a weapon. For developing this, you will need to go back to the heavy bag and pads, making sure you have perfect technique. Once you perfect it, you can start with other things. Next are power shots and combos. His signature power shots are at close range, often looking like he is generating power from nothing. His short shots make his KOs look effortless. Of course, this power comes from his strength and conditioning, but if your technique is flawless, the easiest thing for you is to grab a hammer and slam it mindlessly. So, let's start with going back to the gym and practicing on the bag. He loves to set up his punches with lighter shots. Once he gets his opponents on the ropes and starts with light shots to open them up, there come the hammers. But what is interesting is that his movement is the same with light and heavy shots, making it unpredictable. For probing shots, he uses jabs, of course, but also uppercuts and hooks that he throws lightly to decoy the bigger hook or uppercut. Like when the opponent is shelling up, he uses hooks and uppercuts to the body until they open up. He also feints a left hook into an overhand. What is very underrated about Beterbiev is his fight IQ. Because of the reputation of a power puncher, if you want to have Artur's fighting style, you need to get into a lot of sparring sessions and practice feints, level changes, observing opponents' reactions to create openings, and punish your opponents by adjusting your game plan to their reactions, rather than throwing monotone classic combinations regardless of the opponent's reactions. So get back to the gym, do the mitt work, heavy bag work for developing sharpness and technique, and watch a lot of fights to get better fight IQ. And of course, try it in the ring. And remember, be playful, in which you can learn the best and try things you wouldn't try. Thank you for watching. If you got value from this, drop a like, share it with someone who needs it, and hit subscribe for more. See you next time.